Okay, so in this tutorial class, we will discuss about production and growth. Okay, so it is our third tutorial class, yeah, and I hope we will have another other tutorial classes as well, maybe for about three classes, yeah, three more classes for before the midterm test. Okay, so still with me, ya, Lutfiana Rahma. So here is our materials today. Next, okay, chapter 25, production and growth, yeah. So if you can see in the left part of the slide, it is the data from many countries from specific ranges of period. It shows us the real GDP per person at the beginning of the period, yeah. For example, for China, so it is in the beginning of the period is in the 90 at the beginning of di tahun 1900-an lah ya. And in the end, it is in 2017 ya. So we can see for China ya, the real GDP per person is increasing from 794 to about $16,000, yeah. It raises a lot, and if we calculate the growth rate per year, it might lie between 2.64%. Yeah, so you can see that different country has different pace, yeah, in their real GDP growth. For example, here we have also Indonesia with the growth rate is 2.18%. Okay, so what is the key takeaways from this tabel or data? Yeah, what we can sum up is that there are big differences in standard of living in many countries. So actually, this real GDP per person shows us the standard of living. Why? Because the real GDP per person means that it is the it is how much each person, yeah, get from the total real GDP in a country, yeah. Remember that if we talk about the real GDP, we talk about GDP in real prices, yeah, or in GDP that is calculated by base year price, gitu ya. So it is different from the nominal GDP, ya. In the real GDP, we calculate the GDP that is already adjusted by the inflation. So yeah, we use the base year price, not the current price. Yeah, it is different from the nominal GDP. So the standard of living can be calculated or can be mirrored by the real GDP. Okay. Nah, so as we can see in the left side, the economies, yeah, the countries, I mean, it grew at different growth rate. You can see that there are countries that grow by 2% each year, but there are also countries that are growing just only by 1%. Yeah. So as you can see that in the left side, we can see also that sometimes the poor countries will not always be poor forever. It means that they catch up with greater growth rate. For example, Indonesia here, yeah, at the beginning of our independent day, maybe in early atau di tahun 1950-an gitu ya. Maybe kita masih kategorinya tuh masih poor countries gitu ya. Indonesia itu masih ya masih kecil gitu ya GDP-nya. But if you can see, nih di sini dari at the beginning of abad ini ya, di abad 19 tuh mungkin kita cuma 988 nih. Ya cuma 988. Meanwhile at the end of the period we have 12,000 ya, $12,000. It means that we grow. Compared to the United States, our growth rate is bigger than the United States. The United States is okay, let's say it is a developed country. Yeah, a developed country has a what's that? Has apa ya? Punya growth rate yang lebih kecil. Meanwhile, Indonesia as a developing countries or previously poor countries, we have a greater economic growth rate. So, in another way, we catch up. Yeah, we catch up with another developed countries, so that in the future we might be the same like them. Gitu ya. So it is what we call as catch-up effect. Yeah, it is catch-up effect. Sometimes, what is told by the catch-up effect is that sometimes poor countries or developing countries has a greater economic growth rate if it is compared with developed countries. So another formula is coming, yeah. By knowing the economy growth rate, we can measure the time needed for a national income or for real GDP of a country to be doubled in amount. So we have the rule of 70. If you would like to calculate the time needed for a country's economy to be doubled, you can calculate by calculating 70 divided by the economic growth. For example, we can see Indonesia or maybe Brazil, yeah. Here Brazil, it is slightly more easier to calculate 2.5. So how much time or how many time needed by Brazil to double its national income? So you can calculate it by just dividing 70, 70 divided by this growth rate, yeah. So 70 divided by 2.5, so it is maybe 28 years. So Brazil, it means that Brazil needs 28 years to double its national income. Okay, so it is the rule of 70. So after discussing about the real GDP per person in many countries, in this chapter, actually, we will focus more on discussing about the long run determinant for the real GDP of an economy. So how make it grow so fast, how make it grow faster than other countries. Yeah, we will discuss next, yeah. Oh yeah, if any of you have any questions, just raise your hand or you can just open your mic, yeah. So don't worry, okay, I will answer right away. So first we will talk about productivity. So basically productivity ya, atau dalam bahasa Indonesia itu disebut sebagai produktivitas. Ya mungkin kalian udah sering dengar kata-kata, gue lagi produktif ya, atau gue lagi nggak produktif banget nih hari ini gitu ya. Apa nih yang dimaksud dengan produktif ya, atau productivity? So productivity is the amount of goods and services produced by each unit of labor input. Ya. So maybe when you say that you are not productive, it means that you do nothing at that day. Yeah, it is correct. It is your productivity. But if we say productivity in an economy, it means that the amount of goods and services that it produced by each labor. Yeah. So to calculate the productivity or productivity means output per worker, you can just calculated by Y divided by L. Y is the real GDP or the quantity of output produced, yeah, it is Y, divided by L, the quantity of the labors. So why we calculate the productivity? Because productivity is a determinant, or it will determine the standard of living of a country. For example, we have Japan, yeah. Jepang, yeah, enjoys higher growth rate of standard of living compared to Argentina because Japan's workers are experiencing higher growth rate of productivity, yeah. So higher productivity means it will lead to higher standard of living. Okay, so basically because if the productivity is raising, it means that our GDP will raise as well as our real GDP, ya. Our real GDP is the is the proxy of our standard of living. Okay, so that is productivity. Any question? No. Oke, udah kita lanjutin dulu ya. So another determinants for the productivity, ya. So how productivity is determined? So we have our production function here. Y, ya, atau ini real GDP. Real GDP is determined by A. It is a constant, ya. A times the function of labor, capital, human capital, and natural resources. So we assume that our productivity is in constant return to scale. It means that if we add all input, yeah, if we add all input by 10%, it means that our output will also increase by 10%, yeah. So by the same amount of percentage. So here, if you would like to calculate the productivity, so you should divide each side, yeah, the left side and the right side of the equation by L. So in the left side, we have Y per L, and in the right side, we have, still it is the constant, yeah, 1 because L per L is 1, yeah. So K and then K per L, H per L, and also N per L. So what does it mean by K per L, H per L, and N per L? First, the K per L, yeah. K per L, or it is called the physical capital. Yeah? So it actually, K is the physical capital here, yeah, K. It is the stock of equipment used to produce goods and services. For example, you have capital goods like tractors, computers, machines, yeah, then we can use that product to produce another goods and services, yeah. Or we can also say that capital goods is also factors of production. Okay, next it is the H here, yeah. H here is human capital, yeah. Actually, human capital is different from the labor itself, yeah. Later I will discuss what are their differences. But if we talk about human capital, it is the knowledge, ya, oke. Kalau kita bilang human capital, itu tuh pengetahuan atau skillnya yang dipunya oleh si worker. Yang mana pengetahuan atau knowledge and skills itu can be acquired, bisa didapat dari pendidikan, education, training, and also experiences atau pengalaman kerja gitu. So the higher the education, it means that we will have a higher human capital, ya. Gitu. So that's why Indonesia government has so many programs to increase our educational attainment. Gitu. So basically, its goal is to increase our human capital so that our product, our real GDP will increase in the future, gitu. Yeah. And then the third is the natural resource, yeah. The natural resource is inputs which are provided by nature, such as land, rivers, and also minerals. And then technological knowledge, yeah. It means the A here is the technological knowledge, yeah. A-nya. It means technological knowledge is people's understanding or people's literacy gitu ya about the best way to produce goods and services. Actually, when we talk about technology, it means our way of production ya, not always something digital gitu ya. Nggak selalu kalau kita ngomongin teknologi, pengetahuan teknologi itu adalah sesuatu yang sifatnya digital, but it can also refer to the way we produce something. Yeah. If we can produce something more effectively, then yeah, we can say that our technology is progress gitu ya, atau ya teknologi kita makin bagus tuh kalau kita bisa produksi dengan lebih efektif lagi gitu. Jadi productivity ditentukan dari apa? Yaitu tadi dari teknologi, resource, natural resource ya, terus ada human capital dan physical capital. So four of them determine our productivity gitu. Oke. Jadi penting nih untuk meningkatkan keempat hal ini gitu ya. But maybe it is impossible to increase our natural resource ya. So basically what we can do is to add our physical capital, our human capital, and also improve the technological knowledge that we have. Okay, so that is the productivity determining. Okay. Nah, so it is the difference ya between this slide shows the difference between the technological knowledge and the human capital ya. So what is the difference between both of them gitu ya? If we talk about technological knowledge, it refers to people's understanding of how to produce goods and services in the best way possible, meaning effectively and efficiently. Meanwhile, if we talk about the human capital, human capital is the result of one's effort in understanding existing knowledge. It can be technological knowledge. For example, labor gitu ya, ada seorang tenaga kerja understand about paham tentang teknologi produksi yang paling efisien. So kepahamannya itu ya, understanding-nya dia, her understanding or his understanding is part of human capital. Ya, his understanding. But the knowledge, it is called the technological knowledge gitu ya. Jadi ya, they are both different. So next, technological knowledge also can be shared among manufacturers. Yeah, they can share among manufacturers. But in the human capital can also be shared, but it depends on the individual effort to get the human capital. Gimana kesadarannya untuk belajar, gimana kesadarannya untuk terus berkembang gitu ya. Nah, itu adalah determinan dari human capital. Atau kalau misalnya kita ibaratin gitu ya, technological knowledge itu buku, textbooknya ya. So technological knowledge is our textbook. Meanwhile, our human capital, it is our time devoted to read it. Gitu. Jadi kalau di bahasa Indonesia ini ya, technological knowledge itu bukunya nih, udah ada pengetahuannya. Human capital tuh pengorbanan kita buat baca bukunya. Gitu. Pemahaman kita atas bukunya. Nah, itu human capitalnya tuh. Ya, jadi beda nih antara technological knowledge sama human capital. Begitu juga antara human capital versus labor. If we talk about labor, it is only the efforts ya. Jam kerjanya itu namanya labor. Berapa lama kita kerja? Ya. Tapi kalau kita ngomong tentang pengetahuan dalam bekerjanya itu namanya human capital ya. So, how many hours we work, it is the labor. But the knowledge that we put into our work, it is the human capital. Seperti itu. Oke, apakah ada yang mau bertanya? Is there any question? No? Oke deh, kalau begitu ya, kita lanjutkan ke selanjutnya. So, if we talk about economic growth, productivity, and also government as a public policy maker, so actually what can government policy do to raise the productivity and the living standards of the people in their country gitu ya. First is by saving and investment. Ya, we use kita pakai instrumen saving dan investasi. Ya, maybe previously Bu Femi has explained it in the class. So the instrument, the saving and investment instrument can be done by encouraging people to save and to invest. Therefore, the capital will accumulate. Yeah, the capital good will accumulate. There will be capital accumulation, which later will increase productivity because productivity Y per L, ya kan, is a function of tadi ada apa aja tuh, ada K per L, ya kan, H per L, N per L gitu kan. So if we increase here our capital, yeah, if there is capital accumulation, so of course it will increase our capital goods, yeah. So yeah, of course it will increase our productivity gitu. So to increase the productivity in a country, we can increase by encouraging people to save and invest more. It can be through the tax incentive programs gitu ya, for people who save and people who invest ya. Kemudahan birokrasi ya, the bureaucratic easiness gitu. It can increase and it can encourage the saving and investment in the country. Okay, so next, remember that also there is always the law of diminishing returns ya. Atau ya, so apa sih diminishing returns? Mungkin you have studied in the introductory microeconomics ya about the diminishing returns and diminishing marginal utility ya, if you remember. So basically, to recall ya, diminishing returns occur when the additional benefit from the addition of each unit of input decreases. Yeah. So actually, if we see the diminishing returns, yeah, it is calculated with the catch-up effect. So at first, yeah, when the country adds the capital per worker, yeah, when a country increase their capital per worker, their output will increase by a large growth rate gitu ya. Di sini kalau misalnya menambah capital, maka outputnya akan naik. Ya, ingin menambah capital per worker-nya, maka output per worker-nya akan naik. Ya, the growth rate is so massive, is so huge. But compare with when a country has already in a high position gitu ya, udah jadi tinggi gitu ya nilai outputnya, maka ketika dia menambah capital per worker-nya by one, the addition of output is only in a small amount. It means that by if a country increase their real GDP atau GDP-nya semakin tinggi, maka mereka kecenderungannya pertumbuhan ekonominya bakalan semakin rendah. So that's why there is a catch-up effect. Yeah, it usually happens. No wonder gitu ya. No wonder developing countries has a larger growth rate compared to the existing developed country. So actually, catch-up effect is the characteristic or the property whereby the countries that start off poor tend to grow more rapidly than countries that start off rich. Jadi yang miskin itu biasanya negara yang miskin tumbuh dengan lebih cepat daripada negara yang kaya. Jadi lama-kelamaan bahkan mereka akan mengejar gitu ya. Mungkin salah satu contoh catch-up effect yang kalian bisa lihat adalah contoh di South Korea gitu ya. South Korea misalnya kamu compare sama siapa ya, misalnya negara Malaysia gitu ya. Nah itu mungkin awalnya gitu ya lebih miskin siapa. Nah kalian bisa cek deh banyak dua negara yang kalau kalian compare, their growth rate is different, although they start at different point. The one that is poorer may catch up the one that has greater real GDP. Gitu. Okay, so it is the catch-up effect. I hope you guys understand it, or you can research it more in the World Bank data or in other data that shows the real GDP of countries. Okay. Okay, so tadi in saving and investment ya. Terus yang kedua, diminishing return sama catch-up effect. Next ya, we can also add investment from abroad ya. It can be through foreign direct investment, yeah, and can be through foreign portfolio investment. So we receive money from abroad, yeah, but the money is for investment. It means that we use that money to build a company. Yeah. So what is the difference between foreign direct investment, or we call it is usually abbreviated by FDI, yeah, FDI and foreign portfolio investment. So what is the difference between both of them? FDI is the investment in foreign owned and operated companies. So the companies is owned and also operated by foreign companies. But if we talk about foreign portfolio investment, yeah, the investment is from foreign, but it is operated by the domestic residents. Okay, so mungkin kalian juga sebelumnya di pendapatan nasional have studied about gross national product and gross domestic product ya. Loh Kak, kalau misalnya ada investasi dari luar, berarti kan itu apa ya? Orang luar tuh yang memproduksi gitu ya, apalagi kalau FDI gitu ya. Apalagi kalau foreign direct investment, it means that the foreigners yang operated the companies gitu kan, the foreigners which operates the companies. So actually, the FDI will result in this condition. Our GNP, Indonesia GNP, would be less than Indonesia GDP. But it is no problem ya, nggak apa-apa nih, selama this condition leads us to productivity and also leads us to increasing living standards. So ya, sebenarnya banyak juga program dari World Bank or IMF ya, International Monetary Fund. They channel our country with funds from other developed countries ya. Jadi Indonesia as developing countries got helps from the World Bank and also the IMF. They channel us to developed countries so that developed countries will give us more investment to grow gitu. So yeah, basically this condition is not a problem, it's not a big deal as long as our productivity and our standards of living increasing. Okay, that is the third, yeah. So we need investment from abroad. And then the fourth is education. Why education? Because education can increase the human capital ya. Tadi kan to increase productivity ya, productivity is a function of, salah satunya adalah human capital kan. Selain ciri-ciri yang lain ya. One of the determinants for the productivity is education. So education can increase because education can increase our human capital ya. Because why? Because sometimes education also brings positive externalities to our societies. Maybe mungkin kamu sekolah terus kamu ajarin teman kamu, atau kamu nanti bikin usaha gitu ya. Kamu buat usaha yang ternyata membantu sekeliling kamu. So you are a product of education, you bring externalities, positive externalities gitu ya. But sadly, usually in developing countries, sometimes there is a brain drain. Ya, brain drain itu adalah kondisi emigration of many of the most highly educated workers to rich countries. So maybe you can see that it's a brain drain gitu ya. If we see that the brightest young people of Indonesia or the brightest young people of any other developing countries going abroad, work abroad gitu ya, because they are not paid enough in Indonesia. So yeah, it is called the brain drain. I have a seniors in my senior high school. He is such a brilliant mind. Yeah, he is such brilliant that he got a scholarship in the Nanyang Technological University, and no, he works in the Silicon Valley. Yeah, not in Indonesia, because Indonesia maybe does not paid him enough, or maybe he doesn't think that Indonesia has a space for his career or knowledge development. I don't know, but that is an example of brain drain. Gitu. Maybe kalian punya juga ya contoh-contoh teman terdekat kalian atau saudara kalian, atau mungkin siapa deh bapak ibu kalian gitu ya, yang mungkin the brightest mind of Indonesia atau brightest mind of other developing countries, yang mungkin malah pergi ke luar negeri gitu. So ya sebenarnya maybe as you can see also, Indonesia kan punya yang namanya LPDP ya kan, Lembaga Pengelola Dana Pendidikan, kayak scholarship for taking master or taking PhD programs in abroad. They encourage us, they force the awardee to come back to Indonesia after finishing their studies. It is to avoid the brain drain to be happened, biar yang jago-jago nih nggak keluar gitu. Itu kenapa LPDP syaratinnya kayak gitu, karena education can bring positive externalities and education can increase Indonesia productivity gitu ya. Yeah, we still need that productivity to increase our national output ya, so that Indonesia can be a greater countries gitu ya, if it is in the perspective of real GDP. Maybe in other developing countries might think also ya, so gitu ya. Okay, and then if we talk about education, that another thing that is related to education is health and nutrition gitu ya. Health nutrition itu berpengaruh banget, terutama untuk pembentukan human capital dan juga human capital sih. Ya betul kan di sini. Okay. Health and nutrition is a type of investment in human capital. Ya. It can be done by making improvements to the healthcare service, ya, to the health service, and also improving children's nutrition nih, harusnya ada tulisan nutrition. Maybe if you guys take economics major, you can study this in the labor economics ya. Labor economics, di situ dijelasin tuh nutrisi-nutrisi seperti apa yang dibutuhkan oleh anak-anak supaya di masa yang akan datang, in the future they can be a more productive guy. Apakah kalau nggak salah nutrisi selama kehamilan ibu ya, nutrition during pregnancy matters a lot gitu. Jadi kalau kita misalnya menghitung return on investment daripada nutrisi, the higher return on investment in nutrition is from the nutrition that is given before that is given before the birth gitu. Prenatal period itu penting gitu. Okay, and then next ya, move to the next part, yaitu ada property rights and also political stability. So with property rights, ya, property rights itu adalah nih, property rights is a person ability to exercise authority over the resources at their disposal. Jadi property rights itu kayak diakui nggak nih kepemilikan individu orang-orang itu bebas nggak, independen nggak buat mengatur yang mereka punya gitu ya, itu property rights. Penting karena untuk meyakinkan pihak-pihak luar negeri untuk, atau pihak manapun lah ya, untuk melakukan investasi di dalam negeri. Oh, kalau gue punya aset di Indonesia, gue berkuasa nggak nih, punya apa ya namanya, saya punya ini nggak sih, kayak kontrol yang besar tuh atas aset atau resource yang saya punya, gitu. Itu property rights. Nah, kenapa political stability juga penting? Why political stability is also important? It is because political instability can cause the property rights in a country to be not guaranteed in the future. For example, corruption, ya, bribery, pencurian, perampokan, atau misalnya ketidakjelasan kontrak gitu ya, atau breach of contract that can be happen, and it will discourage people to do domestic investment. And then next, the determinants is the research and development, ya, because we need R&D, ya, research and development, to make our technology more improved, ya, more advanced. And then because technological advancement are the main reason why living standards increasing in the long period atau in the long run. So there are policies to promote R&D. For example, we have patent right, tax incentive for those who are doing R&D, and then also a research grant atau hibah penelitian itu sering tuh ya kalau dosen-dosen kita memanfaatkan hibah penelitian ini untuk melakukan penelitian yang lebih lanjut. Siapa yang mendapatkan manfaatnya? Ya sebenarnya siapa nih objek yang diteliti gitu kan. Indonesia ya berarti nanti bermanfaat untuk kemajuan atau pertumbuhan ekonomi Indonesia, seperti itu. Gitu. Jadi banyak ya determinan dari economic growth. So that's why we need a policy maker to make it clear gitu ya, untuk membuat jalan Indonesia atau jalan negara-negara berkembang lainnya makin mulus menuju itu tadi, biar makin tinggi tuh ya real GDP-nya seperti itu. Oke, nah yang lain misalnya dengan mengizinkan yang namanya free trade atau perdagangan bebas. In the free trade, there are two kinds of policies, There is inward-oriented policies, and outward-oriented policies. In inward-oriented policies, we have tariffs, limits on investment from abroad, and any other. Actually, these policies, the inward-oriented policies aim to raise living standards by avoiding interaction with other countries. It is because the government would like to protect our domestic infant industry. For example, it is done by Argentina, or it was also done by Indonesia in, if I'm not wrong, in the era of Suharto. That is inward-oriented policies. Meanwhile, for the outward-oriented policies, kita lebih mengutamakan kebijakan perdagangan itu keluar supaya lebih terjadi banyak transaksi, gitu. Lebih banyak transaksi, barang kita lebih banyak terjual, gitu ya. So it can promote the integration in the world economy, gitu. So basically the goal is to trade with other, so that we can trade with countries that are more specialized in producing something. For example, Singapura for producing part of PC, gitu ya. Kalau Indonesia kan nggak bisa tuh produksi bagian-bagian dari PC, tapi Singapura bisa. Okay, and then the next determinant is the population growth. Nah, ini population growth ini cukup dilematis ya kalau untuk pertumbuhan ekonomi. Soalnya dia punya dua sisi gitu. The population growth is like a coin that has two sides, the bottom and the top, gitu ya. So actually population growth is good, but it is also bad. For example, if there is more population, there is more labor, kan. there is more labor nih, makin banyak labornya, maka N per L-nya makin turun gitu. Ini maksudnya ya. Jadi semakin the more the population, so the net N per L will decrease. Remember that productivity Y per L is also a function of N per L. So if the N per L is decreasing, it means that our productivity will decrease. That is the bad side of the population growth. Okay. And also, the population growth can dilute the capital stock because we have a bigger population, yeah, higher L. So it means that we have lower K per L and lower H per L. So remember also that productivity Y per L is also a function of this kan, K per L and H per L. Sehingga kalau K per L or H per L-nya decrease, it means that our productivity here will also decrease. Gitu. But the good side is that if there is more population growth, it means it promotes our technological progress. The evidence found by the Michael Kramer, yeah. When we have more people, yeah, more population growth, if there is population growth, we will have more people, we will have more scientists, we will have more inventors, yeah, penemu, engineers. It means that we will also have more frequent discoveries, which lead us to faster technological progress and also faster economic growth. So it promotes the A, yeah. Productivity is the function of productivity is A, yeah, times function of capital per L, H per L, N per L. So if the technological progress is increasing, our A is increased. So it means that our productivity is increasing. So yeah, population growth is apa ya? A two-side things gitu ya. It can be good, it can be bad because of these three reasons. So maybe you can see also that our government has policy regarding the population growth to control the population growth. For example, we have keluarga berencana ya in Indonesia. China has one-child policy, and then many countries, including Saudi Arabian, maybe ya. Like what I've read before, that they are supporting the woman labor force participation, yeah, because it can increase our productivity, and the next we can be developed countries in a shorter period of time, seperti itu. Nah. Actually, we still have another materials, but I have not prepared the English version of the materials. Yeah, I will distribute the materials to you, but I will not discuss about the saving, investment, and the financial system in this tutorial class. I will explain it in the next tutorial class. So maybe today's tutorial class is enough from that materials. If you have any question, feel free. Ya, silakan bertanya sambil aku mempersiapkan absensinya nih ya. Mungkin aku buka dulu mana ya. Oke, aku cek dulu ya. Bentar, aku stop share dulu. Ada yang mau bertanya sebelum kita tutup? Oke, ini TA2. Wait. Bentar ya, tunggu sebentar. Oke, sekarang TA3 ya. Oke, nah ini dia. Abraham Kuyper. Ada ya? Nadia Jasmine. Ada.
Ada, Kak.
Oke, Ben. Nggak ada ya, Ben Sandra. Oke, Ben Sandra nggak ada. Rasendria ada? Nggak ada. Oke. Tafi Zaim? Ada?
Ada, Kak.
Oke. Raffi Ramadan? Kayaknya nggak ada ya. Adanya Raffi satunya. Amelia Verbina ada. Deandra ada. Rafifa Adila tadi ada. Farandi. Nggak ada ya, Farandi. Arasdia ada. Ganwu ada. Wah, Ganwu. Mantap, Ganwu. Oke, Husmin nggak ada ya. Chan ada nggak, Chan? Wah, ada ya, Chan ya. Halo, Chan.
Present, Kak.
How are you?
Fine, Kak.
Fine. Oke. Andini ada ya? Muhammad Albani ada nggak, Albani?
Ada, Kak.
Oh, ada ya, oke. Ahmad Balazuri?
Hadir, Kak.
Oh, Ahmad Ali ya. Oke. Nabil? Ada ya?
Ada, Kak.
Oke, Nabil, thank you. Darian?
Hadir, Kak.
Oke, hadir.
Kak, sorry, Kak. Tadi Rasendria hadir, Kak.
Oke. Siapa namanya?
Rasendria, Kak.
Rasendria atas ya?
Di atas tadi, Kak.
Ya.
4, Kak. Makasih ya, Kak.
Oh, oke. Gabriel Alvaro ada?
Gabriel katanya tadi izin ke kakak.
Oh, oke. Udah izin ya. Oke. Ignatio ada.
Present.
Kaila ada.
Hadir, Kak.
Muhammad Ahmad.
Hadir, Kak.
Raditya Sultan.
Hadir, Kak.
Oke. Valeri Trisha.
Hadir, Kak.
Oke. William Alexander Hukom.
Ada, Kak.
Kathleen Wijaya.
Ada, Kak.
Oke. Karisa. Hairunisa. Carisa. Oh, belum ada. Hansa. Hansa Lesmana. Oke. By the way, nanti jangan. Ya, oke. Nanti jangan keluar dulu ya. Aku mau screenshot buat laporan. Michael Alexander. Ada. Ryan Richmond kayaknya tadi ada ya. Ranggi.
Hadir, Kak.
Oh, oke. Ranggi ini nama Zoom-nya Ranggi?
Anggi, Kak.
Oh, Anggi. Oh iya, kemarin ya yang salah ya.
Iya, Kak.
Oke, Richard Taslim ada. Stephen Alexander ada juga. Oke, thank you semuanya. Sorry ya, minggu kemarin nggak ada. Karena aku lagi dinas gitu di daerah yang tidak ada sinyal. Jadi nggak bisa ketemu minggu kemarin. Nah, sebagai gantinya mungkin aku akan asinkronus. Nanti asinkronusnya santai aja. Kalau asinkronus nanti aku anggap kalian hadir semua ya. Oke. Thank you semuanya udah datang ya. I appreciate your time. Apresiasi banget buat kalian yang udah datang. Semoga ilmunya bisa bermanfaat ya. You can take ya small benefit aja nggak apa-apa lah ya. Maksudnya ya semoga bermanfaat lah walaupun sedikit apa yang udah aku sampaikan. Semangat teman-teman ya, UTS udah semakin dekat. Bye.